Liz. So I'm going to run Lizzie's presentation for her. If you're all ready to go, Liz, I'll move them on as you need.
That's great. Thank you very much, Ian. Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me here today. My name is Elizabeth, although everyone does call me Liz, and I'm from Transport for Greater Manchester's active travel team. So I'll move on to the next slide, and before I get into my presentation, I'll just tell you a little bit about my organisation and my team in case you've not heard of us. So TFGM, we're all about keeping Greater Manchester moving, helping people get from A to B. And we're doing this by rolling out the B network. So this is the ambition for a world-class joined up transport network, which is all under local control. The team that I work in is the active travel team, which is the happy bunch of people on the screen that you can see there. So we work across Greater Manchester to help communities make more journeys by walking or wheeling. And part of my role is working within the education sector, which is why I've been asked to present today. So if we move on to the next slide, I will give you a quick overview of my presentation. So I'm going to look at the sort of Greater Manchester context of the school run, understand potential demand and opportunity to enable active travel to school, talk about the help that schools and young people might need and what is out there to help them do more, and touch on what TFGM is also doing as well to enable active travel to school. So if we move on to looking at why are we enabling people to walk and wheel on the school run? I mean, I think that a number of you on the call may already know this, but I just think it's important to remind us of why we are doing what we're doing. So not only is walking and wheeling often the most reliable way to travel, it's much more fun for both adults and kids, and it allows us to spend more quality time together. Doing the school run allows children to talk to us when we're making our way back about how the day's been, and we can give them our full attention. We also know that improving physical activity is great for our mood, our stress, our anxiety, and it starts to normalise building exercise into our daily routine. We know that there's also a positive relationship between physical activity and academic performance, and that streets around the school are often less congested. Makes it way more attractive for us to walk around and move in those spaces and spend more time in those spaces. It's also good for the environment, improving air quality, and also children who are walking and wheeling to school from an early age actually have more road sense and improved ability to travel independently safely as they get older. So it's all about empowering and enabling our young people as well. So that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing. If we sort of move on to the next slide, we can look at what is the story in Greater Manchester. Nationally, we know that 1 in 5 cars that are on the road during peak morning times are involved in the school run. Within Greater Manchester, we know that almost a third of all journeys, less than 1 kilometre, are made by car. And 75% of our primary school children are travelling less than 2 kilometres to school. We also have a significant number of young people who are classed as inactive within Greater Manchester, and we've got over a third of our primary schools affected by poor air quality. So I know that might sound pretty gloomy for a gloomy Thursday, but we do know that walking and wheeling to school can help to address some of these issues. But I guess it's really important for me and my team to sort of understand, is that what people want as well? Is there demand for this? So we know it's really important, but do people want that as well? So if we move on to the next slide, got some sort of evidence here to say from the Walking and Cycling Index, which found that there was support from parents and carers of more sort of low traffic neighbourhoods, which I know we are maybe not allowed to say anymore, more school streets, and just a general desire for more active travel, people wanting to go in by walking or wheeling rather than going by car. And it was quite interesting that 73% of parents said that they wanted their children to travel actively, although only 54% currently did. So we think that there definitely is parent and carer demand. And I think it's really important to see, what do young people want as well. So if we move on to the next slide, we're sort of looking at the demand that young people might have, and unsurprisingly, they are even more keen than their parents and carers. So 48% of children want to cycle to school, even though only about 2% currently do. I've also got some quotes on the slide here, which have been taken from young people at schools in Greater Manchester who've had school street trials. So as the previous presenter said, this is closing off the road at pick up and drop off time, just to create a safer space for children to move around in on the last leg of their journey to school. So there's real support from the young people whenever we're doing these kind of initiatives and activities. And on the right as well is a poster that a young person did to encourage their parents and carers help keep the road safe. So young people really do want safer spaces outside their school, and they do really want to be travelling to school in more active ways as well. So looking at this, we know we've got demand from parents and the young people. The important thing now is to look at whether there is actually opportunity. So if we move on to the next slide, we've taken some statistics here from the Walking and Cycling Index again, which do demonstrate that we do have opportunity in Greater Manchester to enable more active travel on the school run. So 84% of households who live within 800 metres of a primary school. Obviously caveated, there is a possibility that that might not be their primary school. But if you remember at the start when I spoke about the GM context, 75% of primary school children do live less than 2 kilometres, which would indicate that there is opportunity. Over 2/3 of households have got at least one child bike as well. So again, often bikes are bought when children are little, but then the behaviour doesn't carry on for lots of different reasons. So there's lots of opportunity in terms of where people are located and their access to bikes. But also we've got a massive amount of capital investment in Greater Manchester to connect up communities across the whole of the conurbation with walking and cycling routes. And the idea is that these need to be competent for a 12-year-old on a bicycle or a parent or carer pushing a double buggy. And within this capital, we've had over 50 kilometres of network completed to date. We've got further funding for delivery for another 50 kilometres, and then there's a further 80 kilometres in the pipeline ready and waiting for funding. So if we reflect on this, we've got the demand and we've got the opportunity. So how are we doing it? How are we going to make more people walk or wheel more? I mean, there's loads of ways that I would say that schools and communities can be enabled to walk and wheel more. The first thing that I would always recommend is that they do research. So talking with stakeholders like parents, carers, residents, those who operate in the local community groups such as Walk Ride, local councillors, etc. And that's really to understand the barriers and the opportunities in the area. And also to speak to other schools and other community groups to understand what has been done and learn from them. So let's sort of work on our effectiveness here and sort of get best practice and reiterate that. There's also loads of activities that can be done to assist with behaviour change, such as demonstrating a commitment to a school travel plan, keeping that up to date, perhaps introducing park and stride locations for those that we know can't walk or wheel the whole way, developing a safe parking charter, again, for those who are using the car for their journey. And this would also be for staff to sign up for, as well as parents and carers. We've got lots of confidence builders that can help, such as taking part in bikeability training, which is organised by the local authority, setting up walking buses, setting up cycling buses, loads of national campaigns such as Sustrans Big Walk and Wheel, Living Streets Walk to School Week, Living Streets Walk to School Month. There's Clean Air Day, which is often in the summer as well. So there's lots of activity that schools can tie into here. And whenever doing these activities, I would always suggest some type of gamification to engage pupils and families, offering sort of competitions and rewards that suit the ethos of the school. So whether that's house points, raffles, prizes, reward letters and thank yous from the head, whatever suits the school. For those kind of physical restraints, school streets, they've been mentioned, and also providing storage for scooters, cycles and wellies so that when the young people are getting to school, they've got somewhere to put the equipment that they've used in order to make that journey. Again, there's so much more that can be done as well, setting up eco-councils, getting accredited through Motive Stars. I am conscious of time, so I'm going to move on to my last slide, or penultimate slide, to show what TFGM is doing to enable active travel on the school run. So we've got quite a lot of projects and programmes, some of which are on this slide. I'm not going to go through each one in detail, but if you do want information on this or want to have a chat about it, or if it's got any questions raised, please get in touch either directly from my email or via the email that's on the last slide of this PowerPoint. I'm really happy to have a conversation about anything if you feel that you, your school community or your family could benefit from these. So we've got toolkits to help school staff and students undertake activity independently. We can create a bespoke map for any school in Greater Manchester, which on one side provides advice on sustainable travel, and on the other side shows walking and cycling routes, park and stride routes, the best locations to get into school. We've also funded Motive Stars for all of the schools in Greater Manchester to access. This enables schools to become accredited and rewarded for their sort of sustainable travel activity, with a bit of light touch support from TFGM and the local authorities. We've partnershipped with Living Streets, who work with a number of primary schools delivering their WOW programme. We also have a slightly more hands-on project called Own the Ride, which offers cycle confidence training to secondary school pupils who are in year 7 and year 8, either for those that have missed out on bikeability or perhaps those who need additional confidence to go on the road. We funded a number of school streets pilots that our local authorities are delivering, and we are committed to doing 13 more by March 24, and we've done 24 to date already. We also have more intensive support, such as our Youth Travel Ambassador programme, where we've got an officer whose sole job it is to go into secondary schools and work with the young people to help them be empowered to research, plan, and then deliver an active travel campaign that is unique to their school. But within Transport for Greater Manchester, the work is not exclusive to our team. So we have a partnerships and engagement team who work closely with the Greater Manchester Combined Youth Network and the heads of education across all of the boroughs. We have our Travel Safe team who proactively and reactively engage with schools to help young people travel safely. And our strategy team are currently working with the 10 local authorities to develop a Greater Manchester-wide active travel strategy that will set out our vision for encouraging more people to travel sustainably and the steps that we'll take to achieve this. So I know that's a lot of information. I'm really happy to have a chat about it. But I think ultimately we sort of know how important it is to work closely with schools, parents and young people to enable active travel to school. And by working together, we can hopefully help more young people have the freedom to travel in a healthier and safer, more effective way. You know, we've got lots of opportunity here and lots of demand to enable more families and young people to travel by active modes. There are loads of initiatives to support it. And one thing that I would really encourage is that anyone who's working with schools or communities is to really engage with the young people and ask them what it is that they want. How do they want to travel? What would support them? Because doing things to children is really disempowering. So involving them and making them part of the decisions that we make is really key. So thank you very much for your time. And I guess we're doing all of the presentations in one go and then asking questions at the end, which I'll be happy to answer.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much, Liz. I should have introduced you properly, shouldn't I? Senior Active Travel Officer at Transport for Greater Manchester. But yeah, really interesting to hear, you know, the perspective of the TFGM, you know, so we're getting a range of perspectives on this topic. But thank you. Yeah, we'll do questions at the end, but thank you very much,